I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, both personally and professionally. I've made some pretty doozies out there. It's hard to get through life without having a track record of really making some dumb, stupid decisions throughout your life. It's interesting. No one is exempt from that stupid pill that we all seem to take at different times in our life for a multitude of reasons, whether it be vanity, ego, overconfidence, emotion of the heart, anger, whatever it could be. Who out there hasn't said or done something that they deeply regret? And usually, most of the time, that's hurting other people. But what about when we do things to ourselves? The self-inflicted things that people warn you about over and over and over, but we just tend to ignore. I was one of those. Many of you probably watching are one of those too. And some things you can go back and try to rectify, but there are some things that you're just going to have to live with for the rest of your life. And today's subject is one of those things. No, I'm not talking about some really crazy evil kind of thing here. I'm talking about how I have done things to myself that have affected me predominantly in this space, as well as other aspects of my life. As a young teenager going into my 20s, I was arrogant. I was confident. I felt I was invincible. Whatever. I'm not listening to those old people, which I'm now one of those old people, ironically. I'm not going to listen to those people because they're just out of touch. Yeah, I said that to myself many, many, many times. Many times. Have you found yourself in that same situation? Well, most likely, if you're honest with yourself, you have. Whether or not you want to admit it or not, it's really up to you. But today's generation faces what I'm going to talk about today, and it's hearing related. What I'm going to talk about today, people of this generation are faced with even bigger challenges, much, much bigger challenges than we were when I was your age, as an example. And I doubt I'm speaking to very few people out there who are older than me. But for those who know exactly what I'm talking about when I really cut to the heart of the matter. It's important that you protect your hearing. I know it's one of those age-old discussions and everybody says blah, 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 blah. Well, it's not blah, blah, blah. This is serious business. And if you choose to ignore it, well, you better be prepared for the consequences of it. I've got tinnitus. I developed it probably about 4 years ago, and it was slowly developing over time. There's no one thing that does it. It's just a buildup of over time. And there's no cure for it. Quite frankly, they don't even understand it. They don't even get what's behind it. There's some theories, but there's no practical science behind it. And it's incurable. Everybody experiences tinnitus. You go to a loud concert, you come out, your ears are ringing for the rest of the night, maybe even the next day, but it goes away. That's very common, very, very common. But when you expose your ears to loud volumes on an ongoing basis, that's a recipe for almost guaranteed tinnitus at some point. See, what I said the difference about my generation and previous generations is we didn't have the earbuds that you have today. We had headphones, but quite honestly, we were never alone. We were never, hardly ever at home. So your exposure to headphones was pretty limited, to be honest with you, because we were out with our friends. We were not at the house. We were out and about. And today's generation doesn't do that as much in general. And it's not a judgment or anything. It's just a fact, Jack. I mean, it is what it is. And so a combination of those things, who doesn't like getting in a car and cranking the stereo up? I had a motto for many, many, many decades, not many, many decades, or quite a few decades, more than I'd like to admit, that I listen to music at 2 volumes. It's either off or it's on 10. That was the way I lived my life. Now, so many people say that's not, I don't do that. I don't do that. Well, if you're putting earbuds in your ears and you've constantly got sound coming into your ears at that close of a range, it's going to happen. Why do you think a lot of these manufacturers give you a warning not to listen to so much because they're protecting their liability. They don't want to get sued and for all the people out there that choose to ignore it. I bet you a lot of you watching right now have completely ignored that most of the time. And that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. So what is tinnitus? Okay. Well, it's that ringing in the ears. It never, ever, ever stops. It never goes away. Once you have it, you have it. Some people can get it for a short period of time and maybe it takes a year and it eases and it goes away. And that may be it for you. But even that year is a year of total frustration. Well, me and so many other people, it's never, ever going to go away. I deal with it constantly. There's sometimes it can be so frustrating because it's not always the same all the time. Like when I'm in a quiet space like this right now, all I hear is that constant ringing in my ears. That's all I hear. You know, thank God my overall hearing is still reasonably good, but still that's a distracting thing going on in your life, whether you're in the studio or whether you're out in public somewhere. If I'm in an area with loud noises and a lot of people talking and things like that, I don't notice it as much. But if I'm in an office or some environment like that, it's constantly going. There are times it can drive you nuts trying to get to sleep and it just is so loud in your ears you can't stand it. So thankfully for me, those times for right now are few and far between because once I got it, and I protect my hearing. Now you hear guys like me and so many other people say, when you're mixing, don't mix at loud volume. You need to be able to mix at where you can have a conversation with somebody while you're mixing. But I know darn good and well most of you don't do that. I didn't do that for a long time. And ultimately, there's a lot of reasons for that. And I'm not even suggesting that the idea of doing that is so you don't damage your hearing. It's more ear fatigue. It's your ability to actually hear what's going on. And so I encourage you to do that. Think long and hard about, continued long exposure to earbuds and things like that. A lot of you watch my channel know I'm a woodworker. This is one of the little things I've made. I've made so many different things, but I guarantee you, I'm wearing my ear protection 24/7 while I'm in that shop. Whether or not I'm going to immediately do something or not, I just keep it on all the time because I don't want to make that mistake of just getting lazy or forgetful and start doing something because that equipment out there is very, very, very loud. I don't want to make the mistake of adding to a problem I've already got. So learn from others' mistakes. Learn from my mistakes. You don't want this, I promise you. You don't want to get it. And so if you want to avoid it, take care of your hearing. It really is that simple. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.